The Business Simplicity Podcast, where leaders share their most successful strategies and the failures that inspired them, so business owners and managers can avoid the suffering and reap the benefits. With your host, Chris Parker.
And welcome back to the Business Simplicity Podcast. This is Chris Parker, and I'm having a conversation with Samuel de Wever from Destiny. And we're going to get into sustainability and business design and business communications and all sorts of stuff. I've had the joy of working with Samuel, I guess going on over 2 years now, I guess. And during the day, I work, within Destiny with Samuel. So we're going to kick around that a bit. Before I get to Samuel, I do want to, for people that may be watching online, talk about the mustache coming in. Again, this is a part of Movember. And Movember is the international movement for men's health. And so what I like to say is if you can donate, please do. I'll put the link in the show notes. But maybe even more important, if you feel there's someone who might be stressed or might need some help, just give them a call and ask them how they're doing. That might be able to make their day and make a real impact on their life. So reach out to someone if you're so inspired during Movember. So Samuel also has a mustache. I don't know if it's for Movember, a little bit coming in there, but Samuel de Wever, can you kick us off with just a little insight into what is it that you yourself do?
So, well, first of all, I think the most important, I'm a father of two own kids, and I have a foster child as well. I think one of the most important things that I'm doing is taking care of them within the organization. So I'm one of the founders of Destiny. Most of the people call me the technical biscuit. I wouldn't call myself like that one, but I came up with an idea when I was still very young, and that go down to what Destiny is today. Mostly I'm working very close to technology. So I'm a CTO. I'm the CTO of the group. So I'm working on technology, but I'm so passionate by in general customers and how can we make their life easier and see on how our products can help them. So that it's not just of, hey, I love to work with technology. No, I love to see on how by working with technology can make the life of our customers more easy. So seeing the whole value chain until we really ship this to the customer and getting there, hopefully mostly positive feedback, but also the negative one or the less good one is something that's really passionate to me in the company.
Can you describe in your words, and I'm really fascinated how you answer this, if someone wasn't in the business communication space and you had to explain what Destiny does for people, what is Destiny in your words?
Well, that's a good question, and probably if you would have asked me that question a few years back, or even if you would ask it to different people, you might get different answers for the simple reason that first of all we are a company who is growing through acquisitions. So it's not that we have a natural growth only, and at the same time we are kind of transforming as well from the practically more out of the traditional telecommunications, internet, telephony, and this kind of things. Today we are mostly, well, we're still doing that one, but I think what we are doing to do is resolving the communication problem for companies. So seeing on how their employees, but also their customers can communicate better internally, but also between their customers and them, how they can communicate better with their customers, with their suppliers. So in general, the whole communication, how can we make it for our customers and their customers as easy as possible to get in communication with each other. I think that's the goal what we're trying to achieve.
Absolutely. And obviously with COVID and globalization, for people to be able to collaborate, communicate, engage, work with each other, either directly or across different times is so important. So cool. Exactly. That's what Destiny's working on. Now, the theme of this is really around sustainability. And this week, so when we publish this, we're going to, we haven't done this before on the podcast, but we're going to publish 7, 8 episodes in a week, all around the theme of sustainability, and particularly around the sustainability sprint that we were able to run within Destiny. Before we dive into the work process and into the content of it, your own vision and the importance of sustainability inspired me to help make this happen, to invest some time. And oftentimes with, organizations, we talk about greenwashing or, sustainability as marketing, but I myself haven't felt that at all. And that's what really inspired me to start making some connections and make this whole thing happen. Of course, you agreed to it and you checked into it, but why is sustainability important to you as a person?
Well, I think it's something what's keeping me busy personally in my life already for a long time. So I'm really active thinking on, okay, how can we be more sustainable in all kind of ways, in the way on how we live, in where do we get our food? I mean, importing apples from the other side of the world where we're destroying our own is this kind of things what you see happening in the world. There are so many things that you can see which drive me crazy in my personal life in a way. And so I think personally, I'm already working on a lot of sustainability in my personal life all the time. For example, also just to give you an idea, Chris, that I'm currently doing a reconstruction of my house, and we are doing that completely with ecological materials. And it's once you're in that one, it's so nice to see how it can be done in a different way than what we are all aware of. So there's so much more what we can do personally. And then in a way, it's a little bit funny because as I was already driving into that one, that actively myself, and then reflecting at a certain point in time hold on, within our organization. I mean, internet itself is not the most sustainable thing. I would call it. It's eating energy like hell. We are one of the biggest CO2 consumers in the world. In a way. So then it was really interesting to start thinking about that one and saying, how can we be more sustainable within the organization itself? So it came up because of, from our investors that was brought in as a topic. And then you immediately feel that from one side, marketing starts working on that one. And I was really, okay, hold on. If we really want to do this, I would feel so bad if we do this in a way that it feels like just greenwashing, creating the marketing materials and this program runs. So on the angle where I felt that I could really bring benefit, or where I believe that we could put in a lot of value, I stepped in and saying, hold on, let's try to do that differently. And that's where the sustainability workshop finally came from. And it was so nice to see the value, what it brought for us.
Yeah. The workshop or the sprint, it was essentially 5 half days over a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And we brought people together. So we brought some consultants together, and some of those people will be on the podcast. Diane Zende, who's a sustainability professor and ex-CFO, so really into the metrics around it. She'll be on the podcast as well. And then there's a lot of the people from your organization. So before I ask you to describe what the sprint was for you, how did you select these people? Because one of your tasks as the sponsor was, hey, we need some speakers, and you brought some of those people in, and we need a room full of people, and we advised you not only Earth lovers, actually we need some critical people, and so how did you go about selecting the participants?
It was a little bit funny and good to see. We had a few months before 2 days where we had actually technical sessions, workshops with a lot of people within the infrastructure organization. And there we kind of presented a little bit where we were going as an infrastructure and engineering teams, what we were going to do. And one of the things that I brought up was very shortly like, hey guys, sustainability. Have you ever heard about this? Have you ever heard about ESG? And just please be aware that we are really, really willing to do something with that one. And I just invited them afterwards through a survey on like, are you willing to participate into that program? And immediately after having the presentations during the coffee break, it was already nice to see that some people came to me and said, this is so nice that we as an organization are going to work on that one, because it's personally, this is something what's kind of from time to time even conflicting within myself, where I'm working in an organization, and on the other hand, I'm also working on sustainability, and I can't really find on how to link these two. So that brought up a really nice atmosphere. And then actually we just looked at the participant list who subscribed into that one, and we had a really nice mix also over people from different countries. So it just fitted.
It did click, and there was one, and I don't want to name names, but there was one person who's a bit of an introverted engineer, and you made the comment that it's not often that you see this person so animated and engaged and vocal. Can you describe in your words, like how would you describe the sprint? So you as a bit of a participant or victim, that you were, of course, had to do some pre-work because you were the sponsor, but you showed up on the first half day, and then over the next couple of weeks, share what you experienced. Like what did you think? What did you feel during that whole thing?
Well, I in a way, I think was, even for the first two half days, I was a little bit afraid, like, oh my God, are these people really going to willing to keep on participating? Because in the first two half days, we're really going in, what are we as an organization? How do we want, what is our customer? How are our progresses? So not really going immediately in what typically these people are used to be. Oh, okay, we want to be more sustainable. Let's kick off with 20 projects and I have a session on that one. No, it was really getting a deep insights and checking on how are we as an organization. And again, the people who were there were mostly technical engineers, technical architects. So I was a little bit afraid that they were going to step out in a way, but for them, it was really an eye-opener to see, whoa, this is so nice to even think about it, because we're all working in the same organization, but apparently if we start talking or discussion about certain areas, you feel that it's not 100% aligned. So it was really good that they had to talk, the time to think about that one and talk about that one. And then afterwards, okay, we were going more in the, how can we be more sustainable? So then you also felt the energy from there coming on. Yeah, oh my, there's so much stuff what we can do. They felt so, yeah, then you feel again the passion and the willingness of, yes, we can do so much on that one. And then the sessions afterwards in bringing that more together, it was really nice to see then also to what end result we came. I think people were also really interested and happy about the result.
Yeah, our feedback was great. We did do part of the method is confidence scores. So we asked people a 1 to 10
exactly
confidence score, and the consultants were a bit shocked because the confidence of just a general confidence on day one was already so high. And I said, well, this is a little bit destiny. These are entrepreneurial, go-getter, doer people. They start out pretty confident and they want to rush into it. And this is also, hey, let's force a little bit of, call this discipline or the structure. And certainly the scores were all a bit higher and some a lot higher by the end.
And that was even, in a way, it could be the opposite, because as I said, we had a lot of discussions about certain things as well, where people, maybe they thought that they were really confident, could maybe feel a little bit, oh, what kind of direction are we going? But still at the end, it felt out that they felt even more comfortable and more confident, where I think even if you would probably ask them the same question on day 5 or after day 5 than what we had asked them on day 1, their answer would have been different, and still their confidence level was higher. So that's in a way surprising. Yeah.
And one of the participants on the first day scored all 1s, as in not confident. And we actually checked, like, did you not understand? He's like, no, I understood, but right now I'm based on what I know right now, I'm not really confident in anything. And a very smart guy, motivated guy, but very honest guy, and so it was also it was nice to see that evolution happen as well. The first few days are designed to be not into the sustainability, because one of the desires is not to have a separate strategy around sustainability. The question is, okay, how is your business designed? Now get light consensus on that, and then all those different levers, the 15 different areas or levers, how can you influence those with sustainability to really try to bring that desire, that ambition into the strategy in the organization, as opposed to having hopefully some sort of slide deck, which is completely separate. One of the concerns around running sprints like this is these are very intensive for a couple half days, and then it can be forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
And in the case of Destiny, I'm closer, of course, and I have a good feeling that it will not be forgotten, because there's some meetings scheduled and some of the work is getting planned into it. But what are you doing to ensure that this becomes more alive? Because you could almost say the sprint is 1%. That's the ambition, and then the perspiration has to come.
Well, I think in our particular case, what we immediately agreed on afterwards is, because we had people from like 5 different countries in the office, and what we said is we need to talk about this one, because people need to be aware that we're working in this area, that we're doing something. So we kind of agreed that immediately after having the sprint, that we would have a small presentation, and that people from the local country where they were coming from would present what we have done and the results into the next, what we call quarterly meeting of the particular country. So the weeks afterwards, we presented in Belgium, in France, in the Netherlands, on what we were doing. And immediately what you felt was that much more people start talking about it, and they were really inspired on what's going on. And suddenly my mailbox started filling at a certain point in time, where I was start getting mails from people which I haven't heard from in Sweden, in France, saying, hey, we have heard that you're working on sustainability and we want to do things on this one as well. So they kind of, I think they had the idea that I was the new sustainability officer for the group or something like that one. But at least it was really good to see that we succeeded in inspiring people. We have also agreed that we would keep on meeting with the group on a regular basis, and then now refining the actions what we have taken, and then see how can we really get that into a concrete roadmap, and then really also, as from the roadmap is there, also see that we're making the right progress on that one. But the other thing is that you now start seeing that sustainability, as I said, get more closer into the local organization, and as they start asking questions, and there we're still looking on okay, what kind of alignment do we need locally versus in a certain group level on a bigger scale, to see that we are not all reinventing the wheel ourselves, that we can learn from each other, but also maybe that we can, for at least from some projects, structure them a little bit, that we're doing the kind of same phasing over the different countries, and sharing the data and the results of what we're getting out of it. So that's now the next step. What we are checking on how we can take this one. And it was even funny to see that we are in the budgeting exercise at a certain point in time. Our CFO came up and said, sustainability will now really need to be into our KPIs. So we need I want to have it in one of our KPIs. So we need to have a talk about that one. So he was also inspired by the work we did and the results that we have presented to him.
Yeah, it felt like great energy coming out of it. Obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we have a chat channel as well. We just put all the people in a group chat, and you still see it. I would say maybe not regular basis, multiple times a week. There is things posted into that chat channel on, hey, that's what we're doing in France. That's what we have done in the Netherlands. Small stuff, but it's keeping the energy level high in the group of people who worked on it.
Yeah, cool. What was fun for me to see is afterwards you continue to process with some of your managers, and I think it was a bit sparked because of the first 2 days of the sprint, or half days of the sprint, were, as you shared, more generic, business design stuff to get it a bit oriented on what it is that we're talking about that could be made more sustainable. And that raised a couple questions around your division in the company, and then you continued with one of the consultants. I think it was for 3 sessions of 2 hours each or something. It was super practical. Yeah. And basically continued the dialogue in order to gain some alignment on on what is it this division is all about. And Destiny is private equity owned, and it's growing through acquisition. And so there's a lot of new people coming in and reconfiguring and trying to figure out, okay, well, how is this thing organized? So, I guess for me, why did you do that? Like, what was in your mind to say?
Well, I think it was, first of all, so, like what I said, so interesting to see this thinking and the discussions going on in these first 2-3 half days within the team on, okay, hold on. Who are we within the group? What are we doing? What is our role? What is our mission? And then at some point in time afterwards said, okay, if we want to take the next steps, we need to meet, well, at least we as a management need to be able to explain that to our customers, to new potential employees. What are we doing? It's so important that we understand that we are aligned on that one. And we have now captured that many inputs from a big audience, but we also feel at the same time that the alignment, even maybe within ourselves, is not 100% there. And that was, I think, and then also having the need for us as an organization to grow heavily in the group, and we know that we will probably double in size of people, et cetera. We said, okay, if we really want to get there, we need to make sure that baseline is clear and that we are all speaking the same language. And I think that was the starting point why we did that one. We had that session that went super smooth. We felt we were like, because we already had the discussions before, there was already kind of 90% alignment, I would say, but then still having the talks and the talks on the small difference on how we position certain stuff was really interesting to see. And the result was just great. Yeah.
Any highlights from the result? Like anything surprising from you from those conversations with your other managers?
Well, just having the discussion on the stupid question is who is your customer, and then still seeing on how we position that differently from time to time was really interesting. Another thing, what we are an internal division, so mostly we sell through other internal groups or the counters in our group. And then at a certain point in time was a discussion on, okay, what kind of stuff should be put in stone by the organization, that like these kind of services you need to buy from our group versus what room do we give the local entities to make their own decisions. And in the beginning, we were really thinking heavily on, okay, it's important that a lot of things are put in, or written down so it's clear for everybody. But then at a certain point in time, by having the discussion, we also said, well, maybe it's just so important that they are just willing to buy it through us. That is, if they think of something new, that by nature they are thinking of us because they say, hey, that's a great group of people. They're going to help us. Let's collaborate with them. And then we said, okay, but if that's really what we want, do we really need then all that rules that are already written in stone? Like, no, you need to buy it from them. Maybe we just want that people automatically think of us and that we don't need all that ruling. And if they really don't want to work with us and want to buy it somewhere else, well, maybe then we need to let that happen. And having this kind of discussions is a really interesting one. Yeah.
Yeah. And particularly for an internal division to have those debates about, what is your definition of customer and how do you create value in the market? It's, it was great. And I thought it was wonderful how motivated you all were to wrestle that to clarity. And of course the conversation goes on because things change and, new companies will be added over time and the people will change. So it's Samuel, one last question that I haven't pre-asked you is around the framework itself, because over the months, we've been talking about this simple business design tool, this simplicity scan, and the sustainability sprint is based on that. Sometimes I wrestle with it because I call it a simple business design tool, but there's 15 boxes on it, and it can be quite over. Like, well, wait a second, how can it be simple if there's so many moving parts? And for me, I think this difference between complex and complicated, meaning what we're trying to do is distill into these 15 business areas clarity, So then, even though a business is complicated as it should be, you have an overview of it. And then the complexity of unintended consequences and lack of alignment, you can sort of move away from it. But but because, you know, obviously it's an abstraction of a group of people. But what is your thought now, having experienced it twice, you know, one for the sustainability and then continuing on to your general business design? How did you experience that? Really curious.
Well, I think what was really nice in the model and also in the way on how we have used it is that we were really limited in the time what we had to fill all the boxes. Because you could probably spend days on that boxes, but then saying, okay, guys, you have now 60 minutes to work on that one. And within 60 minutes, we want to share that one, and redoing that a few times over the different days. That's, in my opinion, what made it strong, because then you really bring it to the essentials and what come up in your mind first. So what's probably also the most important. And then by discussing with other people, you must say, oh, hold on, that what you have over there, that's even more important than the one what I have written down. So doing it with a group of people, so not only one person filling it in, but having a group of people filling it in and sharing, but also limiting the time that you really spent in filling that once makes it, in my opinion, really strong. And then at the end, it's like what you said, you can go as far as you want, but you really get to for what at that moment in time is the most essential for you as an organization. And I think reviewing that over time, again, or multiple times is a really good thing to do. And then it's not that complex. It makes it even pretty light to complete it.
Yeah, I think there's the product itself, the framework, and there's also the process. And indeed, for someone to sit down alone and do some sort of academic, thorough, complete, perfect exercise, I've never seen it really create any value, really, because then it's in that one person's head. It's actually in the dialogue, the debate, the discussion.
Yeah, exactly.
And then be forced just to write down something very practical, because all you want to do is have a bit of a placeholder. It doesn't have to be, exactly, you know, poetry. It just has to, like, let's get it down. So cool.
Yeah, and also to feel on certain boxes, if you feel that people are really at a certain one of the 15 questions writing a very different answer, then you can also feel, okay, hold on, that's maybe an area where we should really have a deeper discussion and a deeper debate to see, yeah, where we're willing to go. So yeah.
What I like to when running these processes, just keep an eye out for where people are really in total agreement or total disagreement, because both of those can be a trap. Like, if you all agree on this so much, is it true? Or what is the assumption behind this? Or if you all disagree on this so much, is what assumptions are in your mind that would drive you to disagreement? You know, so sort of the why behind the why behind the why. And you can also pick it up. You know, we ask some emotional questions along the way, sometimes too much, like, what do you feel? Check in. And sometimes that frustration that can be hidden behind very polite words might get triggered. And then that's the conversation you want to have. You know, just coming in and agreeing with everyone and finishing it fast is not really the point. If you did that, well, you're not really in dialogue. You're not really in meaningful discussion. So, if people would like to learn more about Samuel, his LinkedIn will be on the show notes, and as well as the link to Destiny. It's dstny.com. So check that out. You can learn more there. Also, I would like to plug the method. So if you want to go to ebullient.com, you can download the toolkit for free. It's a pretty long ebook that explains the simplicity framework, and it walks through the steps of the sprint as well. And as this is also very sustainability themed, I'll put a link into Cuba, which is the consulting partner that runs the sustainability sprints. So, and I'm going to open it up, Sam, before we wrap up. Is there anything you haven't asked me a question back? Is there anything that you would love?
Well, it's interesting because in that session, you weren't the coach, neither a real participant. You were somewhere in between. Now we had a discussion at some point in time as you also worked with Destiny, and when you spend a lot of your time within Destiny, okay, how do you want me to position yourself? So interesting to see on how it was personally for yourself.
Well, for me, I was delighted the whole time. And my delight came from contributing in a way to a very diverse group of incredible people working together. That makes me happy every day. And the Destiny team that you brought together, some of them I knew, some of them I hadn't known. So some of them were actually meeting each other for the first time simply because they were coming from. And I thought that was astounding how quickly they connected through this process. I was like, wow, there's other value behind this than just the sustainability stuff. There's human relationships getting built. And of course, with Jessica and Wim and Simon, for them to use, if you will, the framework and the structure and the sprint that, of course, they've collaborated and co-created. But for me to not be a lead coach was great. I had to jump in a few times, just mostly because I knowing Destiny and knowing the method, there was a few things I had to instigate. I had to, poke a few times to get some things a bit moving. And we actually have, as we're doing our own retrospective on that, I thought that we maybe need a facilitator role in future sprints that isn't a participant and isn't a coach, but someone like a portfolio manager or a strategy person or something from the company that is aware enough to connect some dots beyond. But I know I loved it. It was. But again, if you get positive, authentic, honest people, which all of them were working together, for something that is for the greater good, how could I not enjoy that? And
I assume you were also delighted about the burgers at the end, right?
I'm not sure if they were sustainable burgers, but they were delicious, full fat.
At least really local ones. Huh?
Very local. Yeah, that was awesome.
Very local one. Yeah.
So great. And I think this will be the first podcast of the week. And so if people are listening to this, please check in for the next couple of days. We've got other people from Destiny. We've got some expert speakers. We've got the coaches coming on. It's going to be a packed week full of sustainability. And again, check out Destiny at dstny.com. And if you want to learn more about the sustainability sprint, it's Cuba, and Cuba is QHUBA. It's not pronounced like this, the country. QHUBA, at least.nl, maybe .com. I'll put that in the show notes as well. So Samuel, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for listening. Download the Simplicity Toolkit from Ebullient.com to discover the power of the Simplicity Scan and Sprint. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite player.